The vehicle fled from him. There was a short pursuit. It ended here on 10th Street, where the three occupants of the vehicle got out of the vehicle and fled on foot. One of the occupants was obviously carrying a handgun, running down the sidewalk, carrying a handgun. Officer Smith saw that. He got out of his vehicle, engaged in a foot pursuit, commanded the young man, the 13-year-old young man, to drop the weapon several times. They rounded the corner. They entered the apartment complex here, which is officially known as the Carrington Place Apartments. As he rounded the corner of the building, the 13-year-old was waiting for him in a crouched position with a handgun aimed towards the officer and fired one round, at least one round. The officer returned fire. The officer was struck one time in the left foot, but continued the foot chase. After the suspect fired the round, he turned around and continued running. The officer, even though he was struck in the foot and shot, on the radio gave the instructions out that he was shot, but he was continuing the pursuit and gave the identifying information. He rounded the corner. He actually did a reload as he was running. He dropped the magazine, inserted another magazine, rounded the corner, and began to look for the suspect. This is an apartment complex, and it's about 5:15, 5:25 in the afternoon. You can imagine kids are out. It's not 3 o'clock in the morning where everyone's at home in bed and asleep. So as he rounded the corner, he lost sight of the suspect. He didn't know where he was. He was asking people, where did he go, where did he go? There's other officers that hear the call of shots fired that are arriving into the area. As they arrive into the area, he walks past a large set of bushes that are close up to one of the buildings. He doesn't see him. He turns around. As he turns around, this gentleman, the 13-year-old, jumps out of the bushes and begins to flee away, and they engage in another gun battle there. And the second gun battle, the 13-year-old is struck several times, goes down. The officers immediately render first aid to him, and he is ultimately transported to Tampa General Hospital, where he was being treated. The officers arrive with the officer that was shot, Officer Smith. They give him first aid, actually put him in the back of a police car, and drove him to Lakeland Regional Medical, where he is being treated right now for his injuries. He has one gunshot in the left foot, as I said. He's expected to be treated and probably released within the next several days. The 13-year-old, and I will identify him for you. His name is Wesley Dalmas, D-A-L-M-A-S. His date of birth is 9/19 of 2009. He's 13 years old. He's 13 years old.
He was 13 years old. Thank you all for coming back to my channel. I do appreciate it. He was 13 years old. Filled with anger, filled with hate, filled with rage. He sees no other way, no other life but the thug life, the street life. Carrying guns as a teenager, beefing with ops, making illegal money. Nothing positive on his mind, nothing. Anything to do with doing the right thing, far from his mind, far from his perspective. Not an option for him. Why? What takes a 13-year-old down the path at such an early age to where he's running, shooting at cops? You got to be a brave, fearless, thugged out 13-year-old. And now, for those who don't know, this story is out of Tampa. And so if you want to, I can put a link in the description for the full video if you want. But it happened in Tampa, and throughout the rest of the video, they talk about how he has a pretty lengthy criminal history already at 13. Not the first time he's been apprehended or caught up in something dealing with guns. At 13. The 13-year-old was the one that jumped out of the car. They have a video. He jumped out of the car, the police's body cam, with the gun in his hand, ready to shoot. He already knew when he jumped out of that stolen car, because they jumped out and they let the car just roll, 3 of them. The one with the gun, the 13-year-old, and I don't know how old the other 2, they probably aren't any older than 16. But the 13-year-old jumped out, ran through, and was ready to blast this cop, ready to end this cop. Imagine that. Would have been a 13-year-old on death row, I guarantee it. The cop at the end was able to get the upper hand of a 13-year-old, obviously. What gun range has a 13-year-old gone to practice shooting? He's been shooting at other 13-year-olds, other 15, 16-year-olds. Shot him a couple times. Now he's in the hospital awaiting. And this sheriff here, Sheriff Judd, I'm sure a lot of people know him. He doesn't play. He's talking about getting this kid as long as possible. As long as possible. And shooting a cop in Florida, life. If he would have died, if that cop would have died, he would have got death. And again, we have to ask, where is this behavior coming from? The parents? Sure, the parents. I could definitely believe that the parents were not the best parents. Father probably wasn't there. If he was, who knows what kind of father he was. Who knows what kind of mother he had, grandmother, aunts, all that. I'm pretty sure a lot of them, to a large degree, did not know about this kid's behavior to a large degree. Maybe the mom did. But most, I would say a lot of family members of kids like this don't really know the full extent of what their kids are out in the street doing. And a lot of mothers just don't believe that they can, or that they could birth a child that would do something like this. They just see, I know for example, my mom, when we talk about what happened, me going to prison and everything, she talks about how she just assumed that I was doing so well, and it's wild to hear that, because I think about how not well I was doing. It's crazy. So, maybe the mom may just have a delusional outlook on her kid, which is not uncommon when it comes to kids like this. Very entitled mindset. The world owes me. I hate the world. I don't have to do anything, and yet I deserve everything, and I'm not going to take accountability for my actions. For one, because I wasn't taught to. Okay, I wasn't taught accountability or responsibility or anything that would help me to become a better person, to become a good man, to become a provider, someone that's worth being around, someone that lives a life that's worth living, someone that's proud of what they've accomplished, what they've done with their life. At 13 years old, all that's done. These other 2 guys will likely see similar consequences. Probably not as harsh as the 13-year-old, because he's the one that shot. And let's not forget, he took some slugs, and he is now in the hospital bed. So he's getting shot up, and he's going away for a long time. All because of the thug life. All because of the street life. All because of gang life. All because of embracing negativity and turning away from, shunning positivity at such an early age. But it's all the influence. It's all It's all what these kids, what young people are being influenced by. They're getting them young, taking them out the way early. As I always say, the street life, gang life is the worst life. I hate it. I hate it for the young people that are involved in it. All groups, all ethnicities. It does not benefit anyone, anywhere, anyhow. It needs to be dismantled, needs to be done away with. We need to be done with street, gang, thug life culture. Need to be done with this. That's the only way that this is gonna end. All these kids, they just want to be thugs. They want to be gangsters. They want to make money the illegal way and be looked upon highly by guys in the street, by other guys in the streets in other cities and other states and other countries. They want to be the top G's instead of just being average blue-collar workers, having families, living their lives, taking trips to Disney World, you know, the normal life. Nothing to brag about, but far from the situation that they're in now. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back to the channel. I do appreciate it. Stay safe, everyone, and stay free.